As soon as I found out that chocolate is a fruit, I decided that I would grow it because I needed to see if I could sprout the seeds, make my own chocolate, and possibly never have to buy it ever again. And since then, I've tried growing it 3 different times that all ended up failing miserably, until the 4th pod gave me some hope.
Oh my god, the worst idea ever. Squirted right in my eye if I don't get an infection.
I took that pod, opened it up to reveal the tastiest fruit you'll ever eat, got the seeds in a bowl, and removed the outer layer of fruit to reveal the inner chocolate mosaic. It even looked like it was starting to sprout a little tail already, so naturally I got very excited. They really are stunning seeds, and you can eat them like this, although they are really bitter, but cool to see what chocolate would taste like without sugar. Soon, the seeds were ready to get on a damp piece of paper towel to germinate. I checked on them every day for 7 days. The first day, the seeds looked like this and the little tail was poking out a bit more than before. Days 2 and 3, the seeds kept growing and the little white tails were getting visibly larger. By day 4 and 5, they looked like they were almost ready for soil. I sprayed them a bit to keep them damp, let 4 more days pass until they looked a little something like this. But I felt like there was a problem because the tails seemed to be getting darker and darker as the days went on, and I knew that meant one thing: death. So quickly, I took a few of the seeds and placed them in my grow box so that they would have the right amount of light and water to grow perfectly. And as the days passed, I was happy I put them in the peat moss because you could see that it was obviously working. So as those continued to grow and I started to realize that the seeds were actually sprouting and my dream of endless amounts of chocolate from my own plant may really come true, I knew I was onto something. And sure, chocolate seeds might give you a plant, but that means nothing unless you take the fruits of your labor and make actual chocolate with them. And I mean really good chocolate. Because knowing chocolate is technically a salad makes everything in life make sense. And unbeknownst to me, making really good chocolate is actually a long, delicate process. And I knew I would need some help to make sure I did it right. So I headed over to my friends at the STEAM project and recruited my main man Jay and our sous chef doggy Tesla to make chocolate the right way. And I was excited because he had all the right equipment to make outstanding chocolate. He had some 70% chocolate in the refiner running since the day before that we quickly sampled.
This has been going for about 24 hours.
And as soon as I tasted it, it was so good, I knew this was a good idea.
Cheers!
Cheers.
Oh my god.
Good?
Very good.
He showed me his roasting procedure for cacao beans in the Beamer 2000, which holds about a pound of beans that roll inside the machine and they stay roasting in there for a while until they're ready to be grinded. Before you grind them, you get them out on a table and hand pick the best ones. Some seeds will flatten out and won't make the cut for the next step. But once all the chosen ones are ready, they get taken to Jay and Tesla's hand-built 3D printed winnowing machine, which is just a machine to crush the cacao seeds into tiny pieces. They get finely ground and end up looking a little something like this. But the problem here is that we still don't have beans ready for chocolate because the outer layer of hard shell or husk is still in the crushed mixture. And we have to find a way to separate the seeds we use to make chocolate and the outer husk that we discard or make things like tea with, so that we don't have crunchy pieces of shell in our chocolate. No one wants shells in their chocolate, you know? Throughout the process, the seeds also have to be weighed and kept track of accordingly so that each step is done right. So when the beans were all crushed up, Jay and Tesla took me over to their hand-built vacuum processor. And that machine is what separates the bean from the hard outer layer of shell, so we can finally get ready to grind the beans for chocolate. Inside that machine, there are a bunch of channels for airflow, and what happens is we drop the cracked beans into the hole, they fall and hit panels that interrupt their movement, and the vacuum pulls air up, so the lighter materials rise and the heavier materials like the nibs fall, and they're separated accordingly. And the pressure of the vacuum has to be just right in order to actually separate the husks from the nibs. Well, we dropped them into the machine and you could immediately see they separated instantly, and it was really cool to know they built this machine themselves. And of course, we continued to weigh them throughout the process so we would know the exact amount of ingredients we would need to add in the next steps of the chocolate making process. Soon they were all separated and we laid our nibs out on a pan to get heated up and ready to grind. As they heated up, we added a little bit of melted cacao butter, which in hard form looks like this, into the grinding machine called the melanger. And that has granite stones inside that grinds cacao particles into a silky and smooth chocolate taste. You have to be sure to add the nibs slowly though, otherwise it can overheat and get jammed. But that's the machine that turns the nibs into a silky chocolate, and it usually has to run for about 24 hours or more to get a perfect chocolate consistency. So instead, we took some chocolate he had made from the melanger a few days prior and added it into the tempering machine, which heats and cools melted chocolate, allowing it to form stable cacao butter crystals, and it results in the smooth, shiny, crisp chocolate that snaps when broken. The crystals are important and needed for great chocolate, and this machine encourages the formation of special crystals known as delta crystals. So the machine essentially controls the chocolate's temperature to create the perfect crystal structure for a high quality finish. Either way, we would have added the chocolate from the granite stone machine into this tempering machine to make chocolate. You just need more time to do so. And of course, we tasted the chocolate all throughout the process. But it's a fruit, so it's fine, right? Anywho, we monitored the temperature of the chocolate, and once it was at its sweet spot, the crystals were formed and the chocolate was ready to be poured into molds. We chose a heart-shaped mold in the spirit of Valentine's Day and poured a layer of chocolate on the bottom, cleared off any from the top of the mold, and then we added some salted caramel that Jay actually made himself and some pecans inside. Jay used a pretty cool machine to melt off any hardened pieces from the chocolate on top to help it glisten more. You could also probably just use a hair dryer, but then we placed it on this machine that shook the chocolate to get rid of any air bubbles inside the actual molds. And finally, we then put it in the fridge to harden. Then we poured more dark chocolate on top of the mold to complete the batch, and the hardest part for it to harden came because I just wanted to try it already. But as we waited, we made a little Tesla chocolate bar and experimented with some colors made from cacao butter, placed it on the machine to get rid of any air bubbles, and that hardened really quickly and we got to eat it before our heart molds were ready. It was very cute, and Tesla, I'm sure, loved being turned into a chocolate mold. But finally, our chocolate was ready, and the moment of truth came to see how it turned out. Jay lightly tapped the chocolate on the counter, and if we did it right, they would all fall out simultaneously and beautifully. We were hoping they would all release at once, and they, in fact, did. And before we could eat it, the final touch was to add some edible glitter, obviously. Soon, our masterpiece looked like this. A true success, and it was time to taste it for the first time. And boy was I glad I came over to Jay and Tesla's place to make chocolate the right way, because it tasted pretty awesome if you ask me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
The salted caramel was crazy, and the pecans gave it a nice crunch.
It's pretty good.
That's really good. Whoa, the caramel is very good.
Wow, I was really amazed. Thank God he gave me some to take home so I could eat them all that rest of the day. And just before I left, Jay took me to his supplier's place where he actually gets the beans, and that was a really nice treat. Juan, the owner, had many different types of beans from places all around the world. Plus, he had some vanilla, my absolute favorite, and some cane sugar too. And coconut sugar. We even got to taste more chocolate there, obviously. What a day. And as for our chocolate plant, that'll continue to grow until it becomes a mini chocolate tree that grows actual pods on it, but that may take some years. So all in all, I guess you're stuck with me for the next 10 years until we can actually grow a cacao pod and make chocolate from the one that we grow.
Oh my god. The worst idea ever thrown right in my eye. I can't believe that just happened.